Well, first of all, if you have an artificial hip, there are a couple things you need to do right off the bat. You should be following up annually or at least every other year with your orthopedic surgeon just to have a checkup. People who have what's called a metal on metal bearing surface, this is a metal head. The heads can be made of ceramic and they mate with a piece in your pelvis, the acetabular component it's called, or the cup. If it is metal, you have what's called a metal on metal bearing surface. Sometimes these cups are lined with a plastic, a polyethylene. You can even have a ceramic lined hip. If you have ceramic, polyethylene, you don't have a metal on metal hip. But if you have a metal on metal hip, this is yet another problem that these hips have, because from just the movement over time, they can shed microscopic metal debris, which can lead to metallosis, adverse local tissue reaction, pain, degradation of the muscle and tendons, and the need to remove and replace the hip. So if you have an artificial hip, you need to know what you have. And most people don't. They just rely on their surgeon to have put in a good device, and the surgeons do their best and did their best to put in the state-of-the-art, what they thought was the state-of-the-art. So most people don't know, but if you're following up with your surgeon, you probably know now whether you have a metal on metal hip, because you need to be tested periodically to see if you are generating excessive amounts of cobalt and chromium into your body from the wear, either at this junction or at the next stem junction. The next thing you need to know is whether or not it's a metal on metal hip, do you have modular connections? Do you have a hip such as the profemur hip that is made in a couple of different pieces? Because there again, you can get the metal ion generation from the wear. And you need to follow up with your surgeon to see if you are getting elevated metal ions over time, because that may be an indication that your hip is failing. Combined with other symptoms, pain, noises coming from your hip, your surgeon may advise you to have your hip removed and replaced. It's better to find this out sooner rather than later. My experience with orthopedic surgeons is when they have a artificial hip that is metal on metal or has a metal junction, a modular junction, and the patient is having symptoms and the surgeon is concerned that it may be failing, most surgeons that my clients have worked with would rather go in sooner rather than later to fix the problem, because the longer you wait, the more damage can occur. But the thing the patient needs to do is request that the parts be saved. If the surgeon goes in and takes out parts, you want them. They're yours, your property. You spent many, many thousands of dollars when you had this thing put in. The hospital will save it for you if you ask. If you don't, a few days after surgery, it'll be gone. It'll be disposed of as medical waste. These cases are much easier from an evidentiary perspective if we have the parts to show what happened than if we don't have the parts